The following podcast reflects the views and opinions of the hosts and guests only. They do not reflect the views or opinions of any agency or specific members of an association. At times, colorful language may be used and may be unsuitable for people under the age of 18. Discretion is advised.
111, 110.
Hello, everybody. Episode 7 for the podcast. We've been rolling along. As we discussed in the last one, we didn't get nominated by Police One to be in the top 10. I think it was a crock of shit. They have reconsidered, and I think by next year we'll be number 1 in the market. With me today, you don't see Dan Coyne, the usually good-looking guy. Currently, he's got a mustache growing. That is one of the most horrendous things we've ever seen. So we brought on our treasurer at the PPA, Brian Gramis, no relation, similar last name, just no relation.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Well, that's good to hear. So what are we going to be talking about today? We've got we'll talk a little bit about the legislative process going on right now. It's an up and down roller coaster as we deal with that. The Boulder shooting. BG's going to talk about some issues that we've seen with field training officers that people probably really need to pay attention to, because these are not the days of going out and doing stupid stuff as an FTO and thinking no one's going to know about it. What we face as we reopen Las Vegas, and then maybe a little bit about balance in family life and cop life. So, all right. So the first segment we'll talk about is the legislation. The session started February 1st. As you know, or probably should know, that the legislative building has been closed. It was closed to us during the special session. It's closed now. We can't go in there. We can't lobby. We can't do what I think is our right to do, which is go up there and be in that building. People are making laws and passing laws without really any face-to-face interaction or input from law enforcement. Here we are. I think they're like 45 days into the session, and we still have not been in the building. Most of us pretty much are all vaccinated and ready to go. But we just don't have the opportunity, so we're waiting for the session to open up there. Some of the bills that are affecting folks, one that was actually heard yesterday was Senate Bill 212. It's brought forward by Dallas Harris, and it's a police reform bill. Go figure. The special session, we were attacked in police reform because of the George Floyd incident and protests, and so it continues now into this session. There's some other bills out there that folks have regarding changing the potential for use of force in a fleeing felon rule, which is a national case that gives us the right to use lethal force against a fleeing felon when we have probable cause to believe that they're going to hurt or kill somebody else. But the hearing yesterday for Senate Bill 212 was, in my opinion, kind of a shit show. I don't think you listened to it, did you, BG?
Not too much.
So you saved yourself a lot of aggravation, because the presentation was extremely one-sided. Dallas Harris talked about basically how bad officers are, basically how they need to be controlled, basically how they kill disproportionate number of African American and Hispanic, or as they say, black and brown people, which that they started rattling off some numbers. She had some great experts, people who were experts in the field of nothing, that came on, and when asked by some of the Republican legislators about some of the stats, they just said, well, we'll send them to you. Sounded a lot like the White House, where their White House correspondent would just normally say, we'll circle back with you on that. So it was adding into law things like, you have to take into consideration if someone is physically frail, if they're pregnant, if they're under 13, which the other day, Myron Ham brought his son in, who's 12. How big's Myron, his son?
Ethan is, 5'11", 6 foot.
Yeah.
As a 12-year-old, you wouldn't expect he's a 12-year-old.
Yeah, and they're saying that's a big factor and needs to be considered when an officer's got to make a split-second decision on using force. Just a bunch of nonsense. You want to pass some law that says every department needs to adopt a policy. Great. When you start trying to throw in there what that policy needs to look like from people that have never done this job, and her counterparts talked about, well, citizens, even though they don't do the job, have a vested interest, and they should be able to tell the cops how they should do things. And I say those same citizens should join the force and see what it's like when you're facing a life and death situation. But as it got into testimony, some people I want to give a big shout out to is shockingly Mr. Spratley with the Chiefs and Sheriffs Association. While he supported the bill, and I'm not fond of that, he did call out Senator Harris on her position and how one-sided and how potentially volatile against police her presentation seemed. Assemblyman Pickard, Assemblyman Hansen did a great job on calling people to the carpet on how this bill was attacking folks. I can't say the same for our own Chuck Calloway. He really didn't step up and say much other than what Metro has been through and their reforms. I really would have liked to seen him kind of say the same thing as Mr. Spratley, that while we supported with the amendments to this bill, we don't support the way this was presented and how it was presented. The only thing Chuck said was, well, we don't agree with some of your numbers. But and then there was a great part. It's like 2 hours. This was a long hearing. It was like 2 hours and 39 minutes or somewhere around there. And Senator Nicole Cannizzaro, man, she opened up with a great piece on how supportive of cops she is and how great they are and the great work they do. And she's a career prosecutor, and she just loves the police. Adela, do you have a garbage can for me to throw up in? Because I absolutely threw up in my mouth when I listened to her talk, and even having to regurgitate what I've heard. To our podcast folks, I want to throw up all over BG. And it's this woman stripped away tons of rights that we got for her or with her in the last legislative session. She went into a special session and she stripped all those rights away pretty much. And now she wants to talk about how much she loves the cops because she wants to always get elected again, and she wants to try and bridge the gap. And even though there are some groups out there like NAPSO who supported her, NAPSO supported Dallas Harris, these people that are coming after the police profession, she wants to make it seem like we're all friends. And to be very clear, the LVPPA is not friends of Nicole Cannizzaro. The LVPPA, as we see people's performance, are not friendly with Dallas Harris and the folks that kind of don't even reach out to us. I haven't had any conversations. I sent an email to Dallas Harris early on about this bill and have had no response. Didn't have her ask me to come up and talk about some of the issues. So it's a hey, we're in control and we're going to push things through. So, but know that we keep staying on top of it. Scott, myself, John, David, Roger, we're tracking bills. We're staying on top of bills. We're doing what we can. One bill that we really think is going to go through is a mental health evaluation for our officers voluntarily when you retire, within 3 months of retirement. You don't have to do it, but it's something good, and that'll kind of segue us into a little later. BG's going to talk about retirement, and we have a retirement seminar, right?
Yep.
So it's basically to say, hey, during your career, you've probably seen a lot of really bad shit, and are you ready to retire and not be around here? I know BG's going to retire at the end of the year, and he's going to probably miss a lot of the fun and camaraderie that we've had here, and he'll have to deal with that as he goes forward. And I know he's a big fan of Michelob Ultra seltzers or whatever it is, and we hope that he doesn't go down the path of drinking too many every day. We also hope he doesn't show up to the PPA to come drink every day. But seriously, the mental health thing is there if folks are going to want it, and I do think it's going to go through. What are your thoughts on the mental health evaluation, BG?
So I also sit on our health trust, and one of the things that we've looked at in the past is there are departments that do have that, and like we've sat and talked about, you get a mental health evaluation when you come on, when you're a virgin cop, right? You haven't seen all this horrible stuff, dealt with all the suicides and the murders and whatnot, and they check you to make sure you're mentally able to do this job. So then someone like me, for 25 years, you go through and you're in different areas, whether you're in homicide or for you and I in narcotics, and some of the stuff that we've seen. And then when you retire, it's, hey, thanks for the 25 years, have a good retirement. and nobody looks at, well, you've just seen all this horrible, horrible things for the majority of your adult life, and now we're just saying bye and not seeing, hey, did something affect you along the way that maybe we need to get you some help? And you know, the suicide rate for police is high. I'm assuming, you know, I can think of at least 5 that have retired that have committed suicide, you know. And is it because of the stuff that we've seen? With this bill, I think maybe somebody sees something along, you know, during that evaluation that says, hey, we need you to go talk with somebody, or you should go talk with somebody, because we're seeing these signs that you may need help. So I think it's a tremendous bill if we can get it passed.
Yeah, and there was, in the hearing, the first hearing, I want to thank PK O'Neill, Assemblyman O'Neill, for carrying the bill, but some really good words from both sides. Assemblywoman Thomas, she had some great things to say about the bill and how this is long overdue, and I think it's different than there's a bill out there trying to mandate annual mental health evaluations. And for those that don't understand, cops, while they're employed, there's a fear if they are honest about things, they have this thought that maybe I will be looked at as not being fit for duty, so they really just kind of keep things to themselves, you know. And it's probably not beneficial to do it every year, but I do think at the end, when you're ready to walk out the door, and you as a guy that's ready to walk out the door, would you be more likely to have that conversation with a healthcare professional as you know you're stepping away from the department as opposed to doing it when you were 15 years on?
1,000%. You know, it's like some of these guys in these other departments that go deep UC, and they do have to, like you said, I know if I start saying stuff that could get me removed from my position, I'm going to tend to not address those issues, and because I want to keep my job. Whereas the guy that's going out has nothing left to lose, you know, and it's, hey, I'm not going to be here anymore, but if I have some issues that I need to deal with, why not be honest? So I am able to, you know, we work all these years for retirement. You want to use that retirement, not 5 years down the road, you're dead. So I wholeheartedly think these guys will be honest. And, you know, plus they're older, right? They're not the 28-year-old, you know. For me, I'll be 47. If I have some issues, I think I need help, and I've got plenty of issues.
Is that late 30s?
So, yeah, you know.
Or early 40s?
You know, at 47, you're still in the mid-late 40s.
Okay.
You know, and when you're hit 50, you're still late 40s.
Like it. Yeah,
You know?
this has been a discussion that's gone on.
Can I bring something up that you were talking about with the Dallas Harris and Nicole Cannizzaro? This is what pisses me off as a voter. You have people that have an agenda, and it's a personal agenda. You see these people that, like Dallas Harris, that I don't know what her background is, what her story is, but it's apparent she has a personal agenda and not one that's looking out for the citizens of Nevada. When she brings up all this nonsense of, you know, this happened in Minnesota and this happened in this jurisdiction, this happened here, and tries to force it down because of whatever happened to her, her family, or whatnot, to me, that's a crock of shit. And then when Nicole Cannizzaro, she sponsored our bill for our 289 rights. And then lo and behold, all this stuff happens, and now it's about self-preservation. And now she goes back on the work she did to help police and basically distance herself to the other side. And at what point do voters see that and go, these people aren't about helping me or my family or my community. They're about themselves and what can they be done. And that's what pisses me off as a voter.
Listen, that Nicole Cannizzaro is a fine lady, and I'm not going to let you besmirch her good name. Granted, the morning after the election, she lost, but then...
Did you say she's a good?
Oh, she's...
JD, could I get that garbage can? I think I'm going to vomit.
That there's no place for that. She is as solid for law enforcement and for the prosecutor's office as you can get. Like I said, we're so excited for her that she was able to rise like a phoenix from the ashes.
From the ashes.
Yeah. Election, the morning after the election, she was down by quite a few votes. But like the true Phoenix she is, she rose from the ashes. And I think every day that went by, we saw more votes kept coming in for her and less votes kept coming in for April Becker. And in the end, she pulled it out. It was amazing. And hopefully, I need a sarcasm button, JD. I need to be able to push like the barf button or whatever.
Are you saying like this is like compared to the Miracle on Ice when the United States beat the Russians?
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Or above that.
Yeah.
Like incredible.
Yeah. I don't even think there's anything in sports that compares to the come from behind win that she had. And it was, we're just so impressed by her efforts. You know, when we were out campaigning, we saw that her as a prosecutor, she had people out there campaigning for her as well. Public defenders were out there campaigning for her about how she's pro law and order and how she's doing a great job as a prosecutor. And
did you say the public defender?
It was a public defender. He was stopped in the middle of the street and talked to John Abel, so we knew who he was. And it was like, wow, she has public defenders campaigning for her, and April Becker has cops campaigning for her. But
crazy.
Yeah, it's just, you know, like I said, she should be. If we had like a bird, JD, like when we say rise from the ashes, that would be good. Like there you go. You know, she's back. So I just have to say, you're not going to attack Nicole.
I apologize.
Thank you.
I really
Thank
do.
you. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Want to talk? Go back to that bill though. So some follow up on a past issue we had last year. You guys will recall, and during the riots and the protests and that, we had an issue. The PPA took specific issue with an issue with the VGK, Ryan Reeves, and a press conference they held regarding the Jacob Blake shooting and other inequalities and stuff like that. So it was pretty tense between VGK, I think, and the law enforcement community. I can't even tell you how many people I had reaching out saying they're done, they're burning their tickets, they're burning their uniforms. But, of course, Mr. Foley, in a true class act, within 15 minutes of sending the email to them, he reached out and said he wants to talk with me. Over the last several months, I've had people say, hey, where are we at with the VGK? Have you guys had a sit down? What have they done to try and make amends? And to update anyone listening, and we have, what was our last count? 550,000 people following this? So to you, 550,000 people. We had a sit-down meeting brokered by David Roger, our attorney, and their attorney. We sat down. We talked with Derek England, Mr. Foley, George McPhee. Is that the general manager? He came in. We talked with Pacioretty. Yeah, Patches. Yeah, really good guy. We talked with Ryan Reeves, and we had a pretty frank discussion with Ryan, and I appreciated his frankness on where he's coming from, and how he still does support law enforcement, and So in the end, it was a great meeting. I thought we're trying to move past it for sure. One of the things that we talked about was our PTSD bill, our bill about the exit psychological evaluation. And VGK said, listen, we want to write a letter in support of your bill. They sent it to Chair Flores of the committee that we were before, and Ms. Dondero Loop to say, hey, we support this. This is necessary. So to VGK, and it's more than just words and in a tweet or a Facebook post. That was actually stepping up and saying, hey, we want to see that these cops get the help they need, and they threw their support behind us. So thank you to VGK. Also, thank you to our sponsors. We always like to add a sponsor. They don't know it. That's kind of our thing. Black Rifle does know that they're a sponsor of ours. Washington National does know that they're a sponsor of ours. Code 3 Coffee knows that they're a sponsor, but there are many that don't know. And so today, we're going to throw 2 new sponsors on the chart. And we have Lipton Tea. I'm drinking tea. I'm not drinking coffee today. I don't want that much caffeine. Lipton Tea. The best part of waking up is Lipton in your cup. That's somebody else's slogan, but I use Lipton, so we're okay. And BG, you have a sponsor?
I do, but unfortunately, I'm not a member of SAM, so I will not discuss this brand. But I will discuss the Easter Bunny. I want to thank them for the swag bags that they presented us. I don't come on many podcasts, and knowing what kind of swag bag I'm getting, couple eggs. Well, no, they're not real eggs. Never mind. I'm not going to thank the Easter Bunny.
All right. EB, you're not getting thanked.
Nope, EB is done.
But so we won't say thank you to Kirkland's for their water supply to us.
I wouldn't say Kirk.
I'm a member of Sam's Club, so I can say it. Good job, Kirkland's. Thank you. Best water in Kirkland's or at Sam's. All right. Another thing, we've been trying to get Attorney General Aaron Ford on here. Aaron Ford has some bills out there. Has taken some positions on some different things, and the good sport that he is, he agreed at some point he would come on the show. We had him set for last week, but clearly with the session going on and things being what they are up north, he was still up north. Couldn't come down. We offered to bring the show on the road.
Road show.
Yeah, but our camera guy, JD, has an order out from Carson City. I don't know what he did, but he's not allowed within 500 yards of the state line or city limits of Carson City. So we have to just wait for Mr. Ford to come back and join us here. So let's go into some things popping off from the Boulder, Colorado shooting. As everyone knows, a probably very mentally ill subject committed a disgusting assault on some citizens and also took the life of one of our brothers in law enforcement. This show will be dedicated to Officer Talley of the Boulder Police Department. 11 years on the job out there, and never fun to lose one of ours, especially. And this goes to these folks out there that are trying to say police are the problem, police need to be regulated even more. That man alone went after this armed piece of shit and tried to stop the threat without waiting for, well, what am I looking at? What about my own safety? He's got a family. He said, you know what? This is the job we do, and I'm going to run into it, and unfortunately paid the ultimate price. But for those folks that listen, for our 750,000 listeners, every time you hear a legislator talk about reforming police, remind them of Officer Talley, who said, you know what, I'm going to run in there regardless of my own safety. And now his family is left on alert, but they do know that he died being a hero, trying to save people's lives. So, again, we'll take a moment of silence for the loss of our brother, Officer Talley. All right, and that'll kind of segue us into, of course, certain political groups can't help but jump on a tragedy. Heaven forbid you blow a good tragedy. We've got the so the first piece we got up is Biden's heartfelt plea for gun control adds to daunting policy. What are your thoughts on this stuff there, BG?
The guy is a complete idiot. You see it on social media. People understand you have gun control. We have gun control now, right? I mean, is murder illegal? People still do it. So what you're going to do is hinder good people that are good citizens that have CCWs, off-duty police officers that are in grocery stores or at the mall or whatnot that have been trained. Not these knuckleheads that go ahead and go buy a gun and have had no training. These people are there. They're caring for a reason. And I would rather have, when I retire, that if there was an off-duty cop and something happened, I guarantee you that person would act and would most likely save lives. But what these legislature people who have no background go, with gun control, we can stop all this. That's not going to happen. Look, it was was it the shooting in Texas where the guy come into the church, and there was one of the people in the congregation was armed and took care of it without anyone getting hurt. I mean, that's what you want. So why would you say to you, Steve, you're going into Applebee's, you can't come in here with a gun, who's an off-duty police officer? Because what's going to happen when you don't have that gun and someone does come in and start some stuff.
Yeah.
You're just going to be another casualty.
Well, when you look at gun control, I think one of the most heavily regulated gun control areas is Chicago. I believe is one of the top ones.
Yeah.
And so I pulled up a stat for the previous 365 days, and this is from the Chicago Tribune. Majority of Chicago homicides are the result of gun violence. 568 unknown, 231 shot in a heavily regulated area like Chicago. It's not, criminals don't care about gun laws. If they did, they wouldn't have guns. They don't care. It's to your point, Brian. So you're going to unarm good people, cops, military, CCW people, folks that are trained, that take the time to go out and make sure that they're proficient. And we have a bill up at our legislative session that would ban even off-duty police officers from going into a covered area, which a business, whatever it is, if they have a posted sign that says you cannot carry a firearm in here. I think the first offense would be a misdemeanor, and then it jumps to a gross misdemeanor, and then it goes to a felony. And it's crazy, and if I'm inaccurate on those, I apologize, but I'm pretty sure I saw that step, that tiered step. But so you look at that, and we're attacking good, honest people and trying to add crimes to them, and then you look at some of the things that our legislators are proposing that they try and make real criminals not criminals anymore by adding credits for time served in correctional facilities because they were in custody during a pandemic. That's the focus. Or in last sessions where they've made it, you got to steal like $1 million to commit grand larceny now. It used to be $250. Anything over that was a felony. Now you can walk out with 5 TVs and a thing of filet mignon, and you still probably didn't commit a felony. And then I saw somewhere yesterday that they said Biden was urging the courts to allow officers to go into homes without warrants and take their weapons from them. Can we pull that? Can we pull that up? That was yesterday, I think it was. Love the speed of our.
It's amazing. This is quality podcast right here. Retrieve weapons, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was to the Supreme Court. He urged them.
They're trying to ban ARs this week, right?
Urge the Supreme Court to let cops. There you go. Yeah, click on that one. Biden administration urges Supreme Court to let cops enter homes and seize guns without a warrant.
Wow.
Well, if that's what we're going to do, why can't we let cops enter homes without a warrant to seize narcotics? Why can't they let cops enter homes to seize photo ID labs, for fraud? But the good, honest people, they want to say, we're going to come and take your gun. I don't know what our department's policy, if something stupid like this went through. I don't know if you'd find one cop that say, yeah, I'm going to go in and do that. I wouldn't do it.
I bet you there'd be a shooting.
There you go. Now we're going to make criminals out of normal, decent people because we're trying to deprive them of their right to bear arms.
Well, yes and no, right? Didn't they just let Breonna Taylor's boyfriend off because he didn't know they were cops, even though numerous witnesses heard them scream out, "Police, police, police"?
Oh, it's a fact that we know there was an independent witness that heard the officers knock, that heard them announce who they were, and that the rounds came from inside the apartment out toward the cops. But this type of stuff always happens when there's a tragedy. Certain political groups will say, hey, this is our platform to jump on gun control. The same people that are guarded by folks with guns, the same people that have security gates around their properties that say walls shouldn't be built to keep people out. It's so aggravating. And I know our members are, gun-toting, gun-supporting folks. But, this just never stops. And, I don't know, they say, well, what do you need an AR-15 for? What is that for? Well, first of all, it's not a fully automatic weapon. It's a semi-automatic weapon. But what do you need it for? You need it because the Constitution says you can have it. And it's not your problem to deal with on why I have it or why I need it.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example. This is what's going on in this country. They did a survey, and they talked to, a couple hundred people. And And they said, "Do you know what AR stands for in an AR-15?" And they said, "Assault rifle." This is no different. These legislature people are no different than me. I sit there and I watch Grey's Anatomy. Does that give me carte blanche to tell a doctor what to do? Or, hey, I think you should do this open heart procedure and let me show you how because I watched it?
Do you watch Grey's Anatomy?
I do not. I think that's a horrible show.
Shout out to Dr. McSteamy or McDreamy. McDreamy. And
He's gone.
is the whole show gone? Is it still on?
It should be. No, it should be. Now we have...
Way to ruin it for me, man. I got to get rid of my DVR program and a Grey's Anatomy.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, if you're a Grey's Anatomy fan, you didn't know Dr. McSteamy, Dreamy is dead. He's dead.
Well, the other one should have been dead. She drowned, but they brought her back to life. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes.
Wait a minute. You just said you don't watch it. Now you're talking about a female who drowned and was brought back. You're a god. You're a liar.
All right, maybe
you
I do
watch
watch
the
it.
show. It's
Maybe I
okay.
do.
It's okay to admit it.
But you get these people, right? That they don't know what they're doing, but they have their personal agenda and they spew out stuff. And unfortunately, there are mushroom heads that just listen to them. That's a new term I came up with
Really, just now.
just now.
And what's the reference?
Well, they're a fun guy. I mean, to hang
there
out
you go.
with, but
Yeah, all right. That banging was.
you don't
PG,
have
not
any.
me.
No, that was a dun. You don't have any noisemakers.
We
so.
need that. We need that. We're supposed to have a soundboard. Our director Adela. Has
The other
failed us.
podcasts I've been on had it. I just
Yeah,
want you to know.
yeah. The top 10 have a soundboard. The top 10 cop.
If you got that, skyrocket.
Yeah. You know, we'll probably be at 17 million followers then instead of the 935,000 that we're at now.
I would actually watch the podcast.
And some people wonder, why do I keep increasing? Because as we talk, the ticker moves. And it just, the quick jumps is always
It's
great.
amazing.
Yeah. But, you know, the topic of gun control, always big across the country. Usually the Democratic Party is for more gun control, and the Republican Party is the one that says, hey, we have the right to bear arms, and you shouldn't be taking that from us. And
But do you really think that the people think if they put more gun control that the criminals are going to follow it?
No.
What do they think then?
No. Well, you look at this and it's, listen, if you have a mental illness that could affect your sensible use of a firearm, I don't know how you work your way into that one. You know, there's right to privacy on your medical issues and things like that. And you look at this guy, I think his brother was interviewed and said he's had mental illness since he was a kid. This guy that shot up in Colorado. And so that's really the only thing that I would say, yeah, you're right. Somebody that's not mentally stable should not be in possession of a firearm. Somebody that's threatened to kill themselves should not probably be in possession of a firearm, whether it's to save themselves or save others. But outside of that, yeah, telling honest, hardworking Americans that, hey, you can't have a weapon. And some people go, well, we're not saying weapons. We're saying assault weapons. What do they need an assault weapon for? Why do they need an assault? Because they want to, and because they can, and because the Constitution says they can. And that's their right, and it's not your right to say they can't. You know, if you want to carry a fully automatic weapon, you've got to get approved by the federal government. You can't just have a fully auto weapon. They took the steps that they got rid of bump stocks. But if someone wants to have an AR-15, and I'm an officer or I'm a citizen and I want an AR-15 and I carry the AR-15 in my truck or wherever, to your point, you want those good people out there. So when we look back to Igor and Beck's shooting, where the citizen tried to intervene. Granted, he didn't know that there was a secondary person there, and unfortunately cost him his life. But had it just been the male half, and had that citizen been able to stop the threat, situation over by a hard-working, honest citizen. We look at our shooting out at the 702 range.
Perfect example.
Our officer gets stabbed in the face and in the chest. And while her partner stepped up and did what he needed to do, 3 civilians, I believe, from inside the range came out and helped as well. Had she been a solo unit arriving on that same call alone, and the facts being the same, the only people that would have saved her would have been honest,
100%.
hardworking, gun-toting citizens that came out to save her life. And we start trying to strip that away, you're going to actually see probably an increase. Listen, if you had a sign out front of your house and your neighbor had a sign and yours said guns on premises, wouldn't come in, and the other one says don't believe in guns, and you're a burglar, pretty sure I know which one you're going to go enter.
Right?
Yeah.
Look at the same thing as a cop. You're going up to a house, guard dog on duty or beware a dog. I'm going to wait and see what's behind that gate before I even go back there.
Yep.
It lets people know, right? And it's bad.
So we'll always track and follow that stuff. All right, here it comes.
That should be on our soundboard.
If I had a soundboard, that would be great too. Yeah. Hey, we took a break. Yeah, we're back. Okay. Where are we at? Oh yeah. So let's. BG's worked on a couple of these cases, and we've had several throughout the years as far as FTOs go. Their responsibility as an FTO, what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing. We're not going to use any names or any specifics, but our membership needs to know, and other people need to know, some of the things that are going on are going to get you in trouble, and I'll let BG take it from there.
Yeah, and this goes for anybody, right? Not just FTOs, but as an FTO, you're responsible for another officer, a young officer that isn't complete, and you're training them. And when you go and you're doing, whether it's personal business, whether it's, stuff you shouldn't be doing, and you're riding with this officer, and you leave the officer in the vehicle by themselves, too many things can happen. And like I said, I've been on 25 years, and, this had been going on 20 years ago. There was an FTO going and getting manicures on duty and telling the trainee, sit in the car. We've had stuff where they've been almost a half a mile away from a trainee, and the trainee was just out of the academy, and they don't think what could happen, and that's the thing that aggravates me is you're here to do a job, and as an FTO, you're responsible for somebody, and you have to take in consideration the consequences of what you're doing if you're doing something against policy, that this officer could get hurt, that this officer could get into something, where people see an officer down on the strip and go, oh, something just happened, and the officer's brand new, right out of the academy, and they don't know what to do. How does that make our agency look, to a tourist or whatnot? So, for all our officers that are listening, it goes back to, doing what's right when no one's looking, right? And we've been taught that, if I did this scenario, would you, my brother, would my father, would my mother go, man, you shouldn't be doing that? And if so, maybe you need to look at yourself in the mirror and go, yeah, this isn't something in my job description, and this is something that, I shouldn't be doing where a new officer sees me doing it. So we're going internal affairs because, the thing now, especially with trainees, is they have exit interviews, right? And they're no longer in field training, so they don't have that fear of, oh, if I say something about this FTO, he's going to tell the next FTO, and now I'm going to get bad scores and I may get fired. A lot of them feel that way. But now when their exit interview, they're out of it. They've graduated. These people can't do anything to them. And that's where we're starting to find a lot of problems, problem FTOs. So, if you're an FTO, do your job. When your 10 hours is up and you want to go do whatever, as long as it's legal within policy, go do it. But during it, do your job.
I guess the scary thing, too, is what some of the FTOs are doing while they have a trainee. What are they doing when they don't have a trainee? We had, I said I won't talk about specifics, but there is one specific I will because the guy's a non-member, so I got no need to cover for him. But going to Fat Burger and walking behind the counter and entering his own order because he worked there before, pulling out his taser back there to show it to people. That's the stupid stuff that we're talking about. En route to jail and stopping by a McDonald's and grabbing something to eat real quick and then continuing to jail with someone in the back of the car. And to your point, Brian, So you're the FTO, you go to some house and you tell your trainee, hey, I'm going to go inside here for a little bit. I'll be out later. And while that kid's sitting there, some car of felons rolls by and they're like, hey, let's take a shot at a cop. And now all of a sudden this kid's involved in a scenario and you got to, I don't know, put your pants on, do whatever you got to do. But how you think that's going to look when the department finds out what happened? You're just rolling the dice hoping nothing ever happens. But when it does, they could go with gross neglect and attempt to fire you, depending on what happens to a trainee and the safety of a trainee and that. So, to your point, man, you folks out there, if you take the position of FTO, it's not just for the 8%. It's to teach new officers the right things to do all the time, not just when people are watching you, not just when the body cam's on. It's at all points of the shift. And if you can't do that and you think it's just about the 8%, don't do it. It's not it's not fair to the trainees. It's not fair to the department. It's not fair to the public to have someone collecting that kind of money and doing nothing with a trainee. I knew a kid that, he told me his FTO right out the chute. We go get something to drink, not a big deal. Then they'd sit there for 30 minutes, checked out, having the drink. Okay, that's a little lengthy. Then 2 hours later, they'd go hit a drive-through, and they'd be out for 30-some minutes doing that. Then they hit their lunchtime, and they're out for an hour. And, on their lunchtime, they went in Route 82, even though they were already sitting there eating food. Then 3 hours after that, they went and had a snack. And this was like routine every day. And the kid's like, I'm not learning anything. And in between, the same FTO wasn't taking any real calls or letting them go to any real calls. It was, no, let other guys go to that one. We'll take this in custody petty larceny, So, again, if you're an FTO, just do your job and don't shortchange a new kid and don't put yourself in position that you could get in trouble. We've had officers too. Hey, I checked out at location A, but I was really at location B. That's truthfulness in an official document because CAD's an official document, and they'll terminate you, and that has held up as far as that's not the same as lying to IA, but it's not the same as lying to your boss outside IA. This will get you termed.
Well, and to your point, right? So you use the scenario of the guy constantly eating, drinking, taking no calls. Most likely that FTO is going to pass him through, and now that trainee goes to either someone else or another substation and is so far behind, right? The new FTO is like, does this guy suck?
Yep.
And then unfortunately it's out there where the trainee says, oh, I had FTO so-and-so, and they're like, that's the problem. And guys know that there are lazy guys that shouldn't be training, but unfortunately they are. But now the new FTO has got to do that much more work to bring that trainee up to where they need to be. Yeah. When if you did it the right way the first time, so whether it's accountability from the sergeants or, the FTEP program, where they're talking with these trainees, get rid of them. If you're a shit FTO, you're doing this department in this community no service. Bye, and get the people that actually want to train and want to teach these new officers the right way to do things.
All right, what we got next? Good topic, BG. Killing it. First show, rolling. Rolling.
I wish I had my Earl Grey tea with the honey because my vocal cords are getting a little
very
dry.
happy you know what to do with your hands. We had a
I was doing this and I was told no.
Yeah, we've had to make a few cuts. But after each cut, we're back. I'll make my own soundboard, JD. Sons of bitches. I got to find... all right, officers to prepare for possible increase in crime now that Vegas is reopening. We know that with more bodies, crime is just inherently going to increase. The RJ did a thing, the reawakening of Vegas and that, and we saw it in Florida. Florida's police department ended up basically shutting down their main
Spring
strip.
break.
Yeah, for spring. They were making too many arrests. They couldn't handle it. Pull that one up. Florida cops shut down. They put a curfew. It was 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Nobody could be on that stretch of road. You look at our state. We've been cooped up. We just went to 50% capacity at places. And May 1st, I believe it's supposed to be turned over to the municipalities. And I'm pretty clear on where Mayor Goodman stands, where I think she's going to say, hey, we need to come back. I think the county commission is in the same boat somewhat, maybe not a full rollout, but, when we open, people are going to be super happy, and they're going to come here, and they're going to spend money, and locals are going to be out there, and the strip's going to probably be more occupied than normal, and not just on weekends. It's going to be during the week because people have been waiting for this. There are people that were so-called experts saying, oh, no, once things open up, people will still be afraid to go out.
Right.
Bullshit. These people have been waiting for this stuff. And Florida is a great example of it. Miami Beach, that's right. It was in Miami. And so, it's...
Wasn't it their city manager told them, the spring breakers, go to Vegas, don't come here?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Curfew aims to shut down spring break partying. I mean, the good thing about our department, Sheriff Lombardo and his executive staff, typically they are well out in front of this stuff, and regardless of what the so-called experts say, that people won't come here. They'll have us ready for, an increased presence probably on the Strip, and making sure that our main hub, which is the Strip and the hotels, is all safe and secure, and that we remain one of the main safest tourist destinations in the country. But it's going to come. There will be an uptick in crime, but that's okay. For the crimes that we take someone to jail for, odds are, depending on what they're taking to jail for, senators up in and assembly folk up in the legislature figure out a way to get them out of jail. But we'll do our job and take the bad element out, and hopefully we can make it to where people still feel safe coming to Vegas.
I think I saw on the internet they were talking about, normally the pool clubs open up the first week of March, and they know that they're going to be gearing up because they missed all of last year. But the article was relating to, don't forget, your occupancy and your masks and whatnot. But, I will say this, with the Strip being in the county, and we do have our officers, I give it to these security officers that are out there. I think we've got one of the most security officers in any state, I believe, that's down on the Strip. So these hotels, they've got security there. They work well with Metro. I think you're hitting the nail on the head with the weather's coming. It's beautiful out, and people from back east typically come out here. And now I think you're going to get California. California's a mess. Their governor's horrible. And when they know, hey, we can come to Vegas and hang out and party and get back to normal, I think we're going to be in for a flood of people.
I'm pretty sure there's a press conference set for May 1st where Mayor Goodman had this to say.
That was Mayor Goodman, huh?
I think, maybe not. It might have been standing. Let's see, what do we got? Family and cop life. Adela, our lovely producer, and we'll have her on the show one day, loves to do some of the touchy-feely stuff. She said, hey, maybe we have a police wife come on the show and talk about how they deal with their husbands being in law enforcement and worrying about them being at work. And, what BG and I do up here, our wives don't worry about us being at work at all. They worry if they hope we don't come home and just stay there. But his wife is actually a newly appointed director, a head boss here at LVPPA on the CSI side.
Congratulations.
My wife is not a high-level director. She is a dispatcher. She's awesome. She's super cop-friendly when she's at work and gets yelled at a lot for doing things that she shouldn't for the officers, but she doesn't care.
But you got to think, though. It's yin and yang, right? You're the big boss, and I'm the lowly peon. My wife's the big boss, and your wife's a little higher than me, but, it balances it out.
Fair enough.
Oh, and I have a bill for you.
A bill?
Yeah.
What bill?
I'll tell you off duty or off camera.
Oh, okay. Like
It's just T-Mobile.
to propose?
No, like you owe people money.
Oh, I owe someone. I don't know anybody.
T-Mobile.
Anything. What do I
Is
owe
T-Mobile your carrier?
No.
Maybe they want you to be. I didn't open it. I should have steamed it.
I've had AT&T for
my God.
20 years.
Steve's got a bill. I'm going to give it to him.
No. Where? Here? Or sent to you at your house?
It's in my house, but it's in my car.
Oh, no. You ain't give me that.
It said something about certified.
Not a chance.
I signed your name.
You son of a bitch. So, what did you pull up? There is not much written about the challenges that. Oh, okay.
Some bullet points.
Okay.
You see that?
Support your kid. Don't make it all. I support my children
Oh, yes.
all the time. I mean, there is if there is a loving father of the year award, it's this guy right here. And a close second is BG. So I don't know. Don't overreact. Never happens. You don't always have to win. If you're a loser, that's a true statement. Don't make it all about you. 98% can be about you. Use the job as a teaching tool. I use it. I've used all the tools I have on my belt against my children as a teaching tool. Joke, it's not. So if anyone's like, oh, my God, he said he hits his kids with it. No, I don't hit them with that. We hit them with shoes and pillows and stuff like that. None of that bruises. Again, just a joke for anyone that's overly butthurt or sensitive. Do not get so wrapped up in saving the world that you forget what and who is at home.
That's
Yeah?
me. That's me.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you find yourself getting so worked up trying to save the world that you forget about your
Like
pets
when I
at
write
home?
my articles for the magazine, I shut myself off from the family and go, look, for at least 3 hours.
Nice move.
Leave me alone.
Nice
I want to
move.
get these words out to the membership.
Yeah. And if you read a lot of BG's articles from his time growing up in North Carolina and things like that, you'll know that he takes a lot of pride in what he writes.
My brothers, Stacy and Ron,
Good dudes.
very good.
dudes.
Very good.
You know, listen, there is some seriousness to this topic. You know, I tell cops all the time, this career is going to come and eventually it will go. BG is on the downhill now, last 8 months here that he's got, but your family will always be there. I have had the privilege to work with my brother for many years. We worked together in narcotics. We worked together up here, and that's one thing that won't change. I mean, I know of all the people that I know at Metro, when I leave, probably will lose contact with almost all of them. Most of them will hope that they lose contact with me, but he won't. And so, you do have to. You son of a bitch.
I'm changing my name.
You could be known as Jerry Williams or Jeffrey Williams. Nothing? No?
Nah, I'm going to leave that one alone.
Are you an investor in copper isotope? There's a powder out there that's worth millions of dollars.
I didn't know where the warehouse is.
There's a Lexus dealership with a basement. They let you go look at cool cars and shit.
Man, don't
Yeah.
go talk about no copper isotopes.
BG also does a great LeVar Ball from Saturday Night Live. But no, listen, for everybody that's listening, the 1.2 million that have tuned in, and is that what? Let me see.
Is that the? Yeah.
1.212 million. You for the law enforcement folks, don't forget, this place, most police departments, I hate to say it, have become businesses and not families. When we started, I started back in 98, BG back in 96, there was a family feel. Like they didn't try and, treat you like just a number. Lately that has shifted to, no, it's a business, and when you leave, we won't be heartbroken while you're here. You better toe the line, and but your family and your friends outside of this place, or even the ones you have here, will always be around. And so don't forget that. Don't alienate them. Don't isolate them. When you go home, spend time with them. I mean, if you're in a position that you're on call and you have to get away from the dinner table 7 times in one evening, remember, though, then if you have to do that, go over the top and do stuff even more so for the person that you love or your family members, because again, this place won't give you anything back, but your family hopefully will.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. My old partner in Narcs, he went and bought time because he wanted to spend it with his wife and his son, who was going to college. And, our dad was with Metro, and back in 83, he retired in 95. And it was a smaller department, and everybody knew our dad. And when he retired, I think other than one or two people that, if that, and that's just it. This is a job. I tell the people here, they're my coworkers. They're not my friends, acquaintances, Unfortunately, my brother has to, see me on my time off. But, we joke, but it is true that, look at all the retirements you go to, right? And they thank their wife and they thank their kids and sorry for missing this and this and this and this. And you hear it over and over. It is tough because we're a 24/7 operation and you sign up to work any shift, any days off, missing holidays. So, you hit it, when your kid's got a baseball game and, you just worked a shift. Hey, maybe it's take that half-hour nap and wake up because it's going to be more than your kids seeing you sitting in the audience, And when we worked narcs, I had long hair and we had done a marijuana grow and I stunk like weed. And I had a flannel shirt on, big old goatee, and I looked like a soup sandwich. And from doing the marijuana grow, the plants got, I stunk like I had smoked with Cheech and Chong. I'm telling you, I was horrible. My daughter had a gymnastics meet, and you know what? I go right from work because it was early, and I take her. And I sit in there. Every single parent looked at me like, oh my God, whose kid or whose dad is this? And Caitlin was like, walk right past, she said, just meet me out in the car because I don't want to own you, And but I was there, and she was happy I was there. So, understand it. You got kids, just you being there, even if you're asleep. I think I was asleep. And them seeing you, do it for your family because that's what's going to be there when you leave this place.
We do it for the kids. It's all about the kids.
It is all about the
It's all
children.
about the kids. I believe that they are the future. If you teach them well and let them lead the way, they'll show you all the beauty they possess inside.
They possess or you possess?
No. You possess no.
Share that one.
Yeah, if you
Was that Socrates that said that?
it was actually Randy Watson.
Was he in a TV show?
No, I don't. Just a straight performer.
Really? I thought I saw him as Joe the Policeman, and that's my mama.
You know what? He was in Joe the Policeman. That's right. Beautiful man. He great singer. He could really.
They just came back and they did another tour.
Yeah, I think they did a cameo in a
Yeah, they came back to America.
movie or something like that. But yeah, Randy Watson, if you're listening, great performance, you and your band.
Outstanding.
Yeah, good folks. All right, so we got an open mic time, and I think this is a good time to let BG kind of talk about, hey, as he's looking toward retirement, what the PPA is doing for our folks that are going to be retiring. We haven't had a seminar in a while because of COVID, but so I'm just going to turn it over to him and let him talk about, what's upcoming, what his thoughts are on as a guy who is looking to go out the door and what he's prepping himself for and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was really cool because I went to the board and, like Steve said, 2019 we had 0 retirement seminars, and normally the PPA and PMSA used to put them on, I think, twice a year. So the last one that we had was like 2019, and that's the one I went to. And all last year, we were getting phone calls. Hey, are you going to do a retirement seminar? And we're like, we just can't. We can't get the instructors to come in. So as stuff started opening up, I went to the board and said, hey, what is your guys' ideas on doing a retirement seminar, but strictly for our members? The one I went to, it was an off-site, had problems with parking and whatnot. So, we have the most people with the PPA. So I says, is it okay? Are we good with doing it here at our building? Miss Adele redid the conference room beautifully. We got new tables and chairs and carpet. The only thing that isn't so great is these blinds, but we'll work on that. And I said, can we do it here with just our members? And we'll get them lunch and everything, and get the info out to them. And the board agreed. So May 19th, it's a Wednesday, we're going to have a retirement seminar strictly for the PPA members. So when you see the email come out, sign up. But it's going to talk about everything. It's going to talk about PERS. It's going to talk about your deferred comp. It's going to the one thing we're doing is I got with Robin Bolanek, and we're going to get the checkout procedure. So we're going to be able to talk about it. So when these guys do go and retire, it's not overwhelming them with all the information and where they got to go. They almost like, Metro says pre-plan, and that's what this is. So I'm looking forward to getting our members in here and getting them spun up, for the retirement, because it's got to be a crazy, crazy feeling working your whole adult life, for me, 25 years, and then the day after you retire, you are shut off. Can't walk into a substation. You can't, do the things that you used to do. So the more info we can get these guys, the better. You hope that you had a good career. You're not leaving on bad terms or whatnot, because we do see that. And, some of these guys, you see them in a year and they're working security at a hotel, and it was like, what happened? Well, I was just pissed, and, leave on your terms. That's the biggest, thing people have told me is, leave on your terms so that you're happy and you can go spend that money you earn in retirement, and not pissing and moaning and whining about I got screwed and this and that. Looking forward to it.
How much do you think, as you move into that physical fitness or having a plan to exercise to have that longevity? I mean, the way PERS is modeled, PERS takes into account what they believe an officer will live.
Right.
And luckily, the reason we have a 0.25% increase or 0.75% increase coming is because PERS has said our people are living longer, which hurts the PERS fund because we're having to pay longer, as opposed to officers or people in PERS dying earlier, which it sounds weird to say, but them as a business model hope people pass away so they're not drawing the pensions for so long. So, as a guy that works out, do you think that, when is retirement about, hey, every day I wake up, have a cup of coffee, sit in my chair until bedtime and call it a day? Or no, do you have to actually take more steps to make sure you're not falling into that trap?
Yeah, like I said, if when you leave, our retirement is phenomenal. You get it the rest of your life, right? And to work 25 years or 20 years or whatever, you want to enjoy that retirement as much as possible. And I think the days are gone, like when our dad, smoked, 2 packs of cigarettes a day. After work, they went to the DBR, or they went, to Foothills, and they smoke and drank and gambled. And you see that different breed of officer now, right? That isn't a physical fitness. You do the jujitsu. I mean, how many jujitsu gyms are in town? They're trying to
Just
stay
one,
healthy.
Extreme Couture.
Is that a sponsor?
That's the only one. Yes, you know what? We're throwing them in the sponsor level. Extreme Couture, Ryan Couture over at Extreme Couture. We appreciate your partnership and sponsorship of the show. And, yeah, absolutely.
But and to bring up Extreme Couture, though, right? You guys tried to put on a seminar. You had some people come. I wish more people would have, to get them in there and learn a few things and maybe enjoy it to the point of, making it a steady workout. I would hope people that do retire, they don't sit on the couch and they don't do anything with their life, that they're out. Hell, go for a walk, do something. But, you should, at minimum, if you work 25 years, you better be 25 years of collecting that PERS. And if you're not, and you're just letting your health decline, you're doing yourself and your family a disservice.
Yeah, to the point of training, BG actually came downstairs with us one day to the basement and did a little bit of rolling.
Yep.
You work out and roll with your son on Saturdays and try and instill in him, hey, get in shape. And Chad and I have had different visitors down there. We've had people come and take.
Who is that? Is that a UFC?
It looks
fighter?
the guy, not Chad.
No,
I think it is a special guest UFC fighter.
Rey Mysterio, maybe?
Wearing a morph suit meant for an 11-year-old. But that's down in our pit in the basement. And,
I tell you, Chad doesn't get scared much, but for some reason when he goes down to the basement to train, he gets a little nervous.
he gets a little nervy. He goes and searches all the cages because this gentleman in the morph suit has jumped out of a cage or two, a time or two. So, but yeah, no, it's just a good perspective. I know we got officers. You know, we did the Washington National Fair the other day, and we had cops in here that were talking about, hey, I'm retiring this year. And so, you know, having a plan in place, talking to a guy that is about to do it as well with you, and I think it gives some good perspective. So what we got? We're closing now, yeah? That's it. Hey, so one thing I want to bring up, and of course this is going to post later than today, but something that just came across my Facebook page from the folks at Invictus Leo Jiu-Jitsu. It's posted by New York CBS Local. New York City ends qualified immunity for police officers, becoming first in the nation to do so. The city council, and I believe it was led by, I don't know if it was led by, so forgive me if it wasn't, but one person's name that pops up is New York City Council Speaker Corey, I believe his name is Johnson, who posted, NYC Council just voted to end qualified immunity for police officers, making New York City the first city in the country to do so. Qualified immunity was established in 1967 to prevent freedom riders from holding public officials liable, even when they broke the law. Listen, in closing, here's what I'll tell all you politicians and everybody else. Be very careful what you wish for. You think the alternative is to take rights away from police officers. You're going to see police officers, one, not doing this job anymore, and the communities that you've been elected to lead are going to be the ones that pay for it. I know, and I am talking to the ones that know who I'm talking to. I know a lot of you have called our police department for specific favors to say, hey, come move this person along. Hey, come do this. Yeah, that stuff's going to end too. Your little favors for us to deal with your problems, but you want to say that police are the problem. That's going to end. You be very, very careful and very cautious on what you think this community wants and needs, because you hear from 100 unhappy people about police. We've heard it time and time again. Police are bad by this person. They shot my family member. So you hear from that loud voice, that squeaky wheel, and you're giving it the time that you think you should. But in the end, it's always the police that are there to make sure everybody's safe. We look at, I want to say in Minnesota, that they're spending another $6.4 million to rehire and bring back people to their police departments because they started the defund and they said, yep. Spike in gun violence, spike in deaths, spike in violent crime. You guys keep this up, this is what's going to happen. And in New York City, which is the second best police department in the country, I believe, of course to us, you're going to turn those people to say, you know what, I'm done going and doing proactive work. I'm not going to risk my own personal safety and my own personal life to potentially get prosecuted for doing my job. And what's that going to turn to? People will start doing all the crimes they want, and cops are just going to submit arrest warrants, and they're going to do stuff that doesn't put them out there, and I don't blame them. Cops want to do cop work. Cops want to be police officers. They want to help people. They hired on to do that. That's why they're here. Are there some bad apples? Sure. Are there bad apples in the prosecutor's office? Yes. Are there bad apples in the public defender's office? Yes. Are there bad apples in the state legislature? Absolutely. They're everywhere. We can all admit and we can all agree to that. But you don't throw out the baby because of the bathwater or whatever, however that analogy goes. Is that what it is? Something like that. Is it? Throw out the baby with the bathwater? What is it? You think it is, right, JD? Up yours. You're not.
I ain't never heard that. What are you throwing babies around for?
You don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. You just
when do you throw it out?
You just get rid of the bathwater. You don't get rid of the baby. That's true. Listen, he's not a professional on the mic.
Well, I mean, there's like a little drain at the end. Do you like?
What if you don't have a drain?
Waffle stomp the baby?
No, you don't. No, another joke. But seriously, I hope this gets out there to whoever, and I hope people that maybe you want to comment or talk to us, podcast@lvppa.com. Reach out to us. You want to come here and talk about your stance on things? We'll have those friendly conversations. AG Ford, we're going to have that with you one day. But You start going after the cops and making it to where cops can't do their job, or that they're afraid that they're going to get charged with a crime or sued personally, and you take those protections. And mind you, we're not taking those protections, though, from everyone. We're not taking them from the prosecutor's office or judges, because there's a lot of people that get qualified immunity. There's even a bill up at our state legislature to basically give immunity to civilian response crews that go to scenes, and if something goes wrong, that they're not personally liable. That's called qualified immunity. And so you're going to offer it to one group, but take it from another potentially. I don't see any bills in our state, and I appreciate our assembly folk, and I appreciate our Senate folk that they're not going down that road, but I caution them, for those that may have that idea, that you make it too hard to be a police officer, people won't be a police officer anymore. And I am hopeful with the future. There's going to be an election for governor in the next year and a half, and I hope that we elect a governor that will see bills like those, if they come across their desk, and veto them. I don't have that confidence in the governor we have now because he's a panderer to political parties as well. But I hope in the future we get some people that have some real leadership, and it's not just about bending to the will of a small group that screams the loudest. So with that final parting thought, we appreciate everybody that tunes in to our where are we at now? 1.439 million viewers. We appreciate it, and I can promise you this: we'll be back with podcast episode 8 in the near future. Thank y'all. Be safe and take care. Happy Easter.
111, 110.